and got out and enjoyed the sunshine. It's really sunny out there today, so despite being in the middle of winter, really, it's actually quite warm. So apologies if I look like I've just woken up and gone out for a walk, because that's kind of what I've done, really. Thank you for joining in on the live chat. I've got my screen open here so I can keep up with all the comments. All the comments. It's very presumptuous of me, isn't it? Cheers, by the way. Currently drinking courtesy of Christopher Shapir, Frothy Monkey Roasting Company. I believe it was from Texas. Brute. Cocoa nibs, burnt sugar, macadamia. Christopher, if you are watching, this coffee is absolutely sensational. And it would be remiss of me to not mention my good buddy Ted Trapinski, who I still haven't opened. Ted, if you're watching, man, I still haven't opened this behemoth. Seriously, very, very generous supporters of the show. But cheers. And thank you for joining in on the live chat. This live video, I woke up this morning, I had no live video planned for today, or at least I had no topic. I'm always going to do a live video in the future. Some of those will be live lessons. I just didn't have a topic, and I actually had a chat to my wife this morning just as we were getting Connor ready and everything for the day, and I said, oh, what do you think? You know, what should I talk to my viewers and my supporters about today? The Q&As, they tend to, you know, it can get a little bit self-serving, like, you know, I'm the most interesting person in the world. And in reality, the Q&As actually tend to fall a little bit flat. I guess it can be hard to just try and think of questions on the spot, or, you know, as I say, maybe I'm not that interesting. Maybe I'm such an open book that people know all they want to know. So anyway, thinking, what can I talk about? I can't talk about Black Sabbath again, because that's like all I've talked about for the last 3 months. So, you know, where do you take it? And I think sometimes it's nice to sort of peel back the curtain a little bit and let you guys know what's going on with me, with life stuff. Again, this video might not be interesting for everybody, might not be relevant to you all. But I thought, you know, I do try and be as transparent as possible. Man, I'd make a good politician. We're 3 minutes in and I haven't said a word yet. But I do try and be transparent, try and let you guys know what's going on. And at the start of each video, I do say, well, on most of my videos, I say, hey, what is up, YouTube? It's Andrew here. I'm a full-time drummer and drum teacher in Auckland, New Zealand. And let's just say, if I'm going to drag this out anymore, this is when I need one of my memes to, you know, make fun of myself. If I'm going to drag this out anymore, you know, I might need to change that intro a bit, because, long story short, it's already a long story, I've actually stopped playing gigs. And some of you might be thinking, so? Who cares? So this was a little while in the making, and that's why I did the thumbnail for this video of, you know, from a gig. And this wasn't a decision taken lightly. I'm not saying it's a permanent decision, as in I'm never ever going to play professionally again. It's just a call I've made, and YouTube, you guys have actually been a big part of that. So it ended up coming to the point with, because I teach 6 days a week. I teach privately 6 days a week. And then, you know, you've got your school drop-off, school pickups, sport for Connor. Then I've got YouTube and all the editing, which is and recording and editing, which probably takes I would guess it takes a bit more time than people might think. Not complaining, just laying it out there. And then I had my gigs, which basically wiped me out for the weekend. So typically, my life looked like this. On a Friday, I would typically go to wherever our event or our gig was. It could be anywhere, right? I don't have a roadie. I'm setting all this up. So we'd go along earlier on in the day, set up. You know, you got to find parking. It's hard to find parking around damn Auckland at any time, let alone on a Friday afternoon. And then, you know, you've got to set all this up, do your sound check, sort out whatever with a venue. This could be out of Auckland too. Could be driving, you know, wherever. Do the gig. Typically the gig would be somewhere in the vicinity of 8 till 12, 9 to 12, midnight, sometimes later. I've gigged, you know, till 1, 2, if it was a bar gig. Set my alarm, get Connor to soccer the next morning on Saturday morning, teach all day Saturday, and do the same. Set up, do the gig on the Saturday night. None of this is to complain. This is just to lay out a little bit and to be completely transparent. And, you know, I'm brutally honest on my YouTube channel. And I just don't want to say at the start of a video, I'm a full-time drummer and drum teacher from now on if I'm not a full-time drummer. I'm probably going to forget and just default back to an intro that I've said a million times. But basically it came to the point where something's got to give or I'm going to break. And what I decided to give a little break or to give a long break, who knows, is the gigging part. So yeah, if anyone does have any questions, it's really interesting because gigging is such a normal part of my life. I have gigged constantly, well over 1,000 gigs, probably 2,000, 3,000. I have no idea. I used to keep a log of gigs for tax reasons before I had a very good accountant, and try and keep a track of all this. And you know, I stopped doing it after over 1,000 gigs, which was years and years and years ago. So it's just an absolutely normal part of my life. It's kind of what I did on my weekend. I was used to not going out. You know, going out for me was working. And it's such a big change. So when I first started at university, when I started my jazz degree at Auckland Uni, I have been gigging, well, since before then, but professionally probably, I guess, from that time, which was 2000. I started that course in 2006, I think, start of 2006. So to be playing full-time professionally, you know, every week since then, 16 years of it, man, it can take it out of you. You know, we're all human. You know, if you've been teaching all week and then burning the candle at both ends with, you know, late nights up editing videos, and then on the Friday or maybe Thursday, Friday, you're gigging, and then Saturday you're teaching, and then Saturday night you're gigging. On Sunday, you're done. You're done. And who suffers? Your family's going to suffer because you're going to have a short week, or you're just not going to be, you're like a zombie. And I'm sort of had that zombie phase many a time. And there were a couple of gigs there sort of towards the end where I thought, you know, I would love to be at home watching Netflix right now, in bed, I don't want to be running around in the middle of winter lugging gear at 2 a.m. into a car, smashing an espresso in hopes that I don't fall asleep driving home. At which point my alarm's going to be going off in 4 hours to start teaching. It's not good. It's not good. I've been rambling and rambling. I'm going to get to the comments here and see what you guys think of this. Jeff Senior, right then, Andrew, I've got my coffee. Let's get to it. Okay. Oh, you guys talking about the coffee? Yeah, so good. So good. Suzanne. Hey, Andrew, I've got some videos coming up for you very shortly, Suzanne. Michael Lunenberg and is waiting for the story that I dragged out. TD12KX. I live to play gigs. I've been gigging since the mid-70s. It never gets old for me. It's the most fun part of music, and I still hold them full-time job, as well as a full-time job. But teaching 6 days a week, I get it. Yeah, like it's just one of those things. Something had to give. It's definitely not a financial decision. My gigs were pretty good. They were pretty good. It's not a financial thing. It's just YouTube is fun and exciting and new. Gigs is just something I've done forever, and it's just a normal thing. So I guess YouTube is also, it's got that new thing for me where I've got a bit more energy for it. So there's that as well. I-beans. That's a pretty hefty workload, but it's always better to look after yourself. Yeah, I think so. Michael Paris, don't you drum while you teach? Yeah, of course, but that's not gigging. It's not gigging, is it? Yeah, but I mean, I still play. I still play a lot. 6 days a week teaching. I mean, I'm playing during those lessons, and I practice every day anyway. So it's not like I've fallen out of love with drums and I'm not playing anymore. I'm just not gigging at the moment, and I'm turning down gigs all the time. That's another excuse me, that's another important story. Actually, I should do a video on that. Once you start saying no to gigs, something interesting starts happening. People stop calling you. And yeah, so it's a decision you've got to be a little bit careful about. Suzanne, you could be gigging anytime you want. Keep it the same. We love the intro as is. Thank you very much, Suzanne. Michael Lunenberg, I'm happy you're in a place in your career and life that you get to choose what you want to do and take care of yourself and your family. Thank you so much. That's a very thoughtful comment. And that's all it is. That's all it is. So I could keep gigging and be making pretty good money, pretty good life from gigging, but it's not the right call for me at the moment. And when your kids are young, well, I've only got one boy, but they're only young once, right? And I've sacrificed a lot of that growing up to be out working. I've sacrificed basically all my social life, social occasions, birthdays, weddings, gatherings, around at such and such house watching the game tonight. Didn't go to them. And again, like turning down gigs, sometimes you'll stop getting asked. Don't bother calling Rooney. He'll be gigging. And half the time I'm not even in Auckland. I'll be gigging out on an island or up north or down south. And the other part of this is now that so this has been about 5 or 6 weeks. My wife gets to go out. She would have been at home with Connor before. Now she gets to go out. And then on the weekend, you've gotten to bed at a reasonable hour, assuming you haven't got too Netflix addicted. And you're up on Sunday and you're down at the park with Connor and kicking the ball around. It's great. What else we got here? Church of the Holy Mo. Back in the day, I was not a fan of gigging. I didn't gig that much. Every now and then, I must plan for like a Christmas show or something. Whatever you choose will be great. Skunk Works. Live for yourself. There's no one else more worth living for. Neil Peart Rush. Still Sishira. You showed me some amazing stuff and inspired my own drumming. Thank you for that. Well, thank you. Kent Mains. I spent a lot of time away from home in the military and later working odd shifts with odd days off. Being home is where I want to be now. Me too, man. And look, I am actually a bit of a homebody. You know, despite being out and doing, again, thousands of gigs, gigging constantly for 16 years plus, I'm not much of a party animal. I'd much rather be with friends or family and doing something like that. I'm not a big drinker. You know, when I first started gigging a lot, it was typically quite a bit of bar work before we had sort of worked our way up into the more corporate gigs and private function sort of stuff. And doing a lot of bar work, cafes, and you know, it was exciting. You're younger, you're getting given a lot of, you know, all the drinks that you want. It's all on the house. All the food you want, it's all on the house, and you're getting paid and everything. It's really exciting. It's really fun, and not to mention you just want to be out playing. But yeah, all that stuff, it's not the same. And you know what is weird? This is going to sound really strange to a lot of you. It's very weird for me now to go out to bars. I've been taking Connor out a little bit to watch some sports games, and because I would never have hung out at a bar before, because that's, you know, where I spent so much time working. It's weird for me now to go to a venue and be paying for food and drinks because I'm just not used to it, and you sort of forget how expensive it can be as well. I mean, drinks here are expensive. Christopher Shapir. Your comment here. Neil also said that when people heard Rush's music, he wanted them to know care had been taken. I get that from your work with the channel. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you so much, Christopher. That means the world to me. Roman numerals guy. Hi, I'm sorry I'm late. What did I miss? Basically, I had a big intro at the start of this video, and it all boiled down to the fact that I'm no longer gigging. No longer playing out in public at the moment, and not looking to. Not going to accept any gigs. It's just a cold break, and we'll see how things go over the years, you know, in the future. Michael Lundberg, you'll never regret missing unnecessary work for spending time with your son, I promise. No, I absolutely 100% believe you and agree with that. Flo R, now that my son is all grown up and out of the house, I can go to the things that I put off and enjoy them all the more. That's where I'm at right now. I wouldn't trade that time with my son for anything else. Yeah. Edgar Pacifico, you're always bringing excellent content to the channel. Thank you so much. So yeah, the channel is a big part of this. Big part of it. It's exciting. You know, it's exciting for all of us here. How many subscribers are we up to? 94.3K. You know, it's really exciting. And I feel like that's, you kind of got to follow your heart. And I talk to a bunch of drummer friends here. You've seen me talking to drummer friends on the channel, on the interviews that I've done, like myth busting and stuff. You know, we've talked about this, and there is a stage in your life, in your career, if you've played a lot, where you start to feel like, you know, there's not, I don't feel this need to be proving myself or some kind of how can I put this? It's like to be a drummer or to be a professional level drummer or a name drummer, you need to be attached to a big band, or you need to be working a lot, playing a lot to be a real deal. I'm a drummer. And I think that attitude, especially with COVID, actually, especially with lockdowns where you couldn't play, I feel like that's changed a bit. Or maybe it's just changed for me. And I'm trying to justify in my own head that I am a legit drummer, even though I'm not playing a lot. But yeah, it is a big change. I'm not going to lie, it is a big change. Cheers. You know, when I started at jazz school, in my first year of jazz school, it was not uncommon for me to do 4 or 5 gigs in a week. I remember one week in particular where, this is on top of the full-time music degree, I remember one week where, because I had 2 drum kits, and there was a week where there were so many gigs that I had to set up, I had to basically zigzag setting up a drum kit in different venues over the week and over the weekend to like get to this wedding reception from 3 to 6 in order to basically, by the time I drive across town to that bar gig, my kit's already set up with a whole different set of cymbals, different hardware, different everything, and I can just walk in the door or run in the door and play. And then, you know, pack that kit down and then get to back to the first venue in the morning to pack down that kit. And this went on and on and on. And I'm not complaining, but this is probably the part of a working drummer's life that probably doesn't get talked about a lot. And if you're not a working, gigging player, you might not understand how demanding that is. It is really demanding. There's a really good saying. If you're playing for the money, don't complain about the gig. And if you're playing for the gig, don't complain about the money. And that kind of sums it up, really. You know, so at first, when you're playing, you will play anywhere for any amount of money under any conditions because you're so keen to get mileage on your instrument, and you know, gigging is the way to really break through and get a lot of mileage, and get yourself out there and be able to support yourself. And as you get older, I still remember when I first started gigging, it was funny, you know, you might end up on some gig with an older working player, and they'd always be grumpy. All these older, you know, local pros, you you know, and it's like, man, this guy is living the dream, you know. I've always wanted to gig. He's gigging every night of the week, and look how grumpy he is. And then it's not till you get a bit older, and you've got a lot of gigs behind you, a lot of stories, and you're like, oh, I can relate. I know what he's going through. I know what that person was thinking, totally. Oh yeah, and if anyone's wondering while watching this, probably not. I think everyone who's watching this is probably subscribed. I do have this on, only subscribers are allowed to comment. So yeah, if you are looking to get into the conversation, that'll be why you can't. Christopher Shapir, 94.3K. Sounds like a radio station. 94.3 FM. Isn't that the population of Auckland? Christopher, do you want this to just go out the window? No, there's 1.4 million, I believe, in Auckland. But yeah, 94.3K. It is crazy. Benny Key, glad you are taking care of you, man. I'm not playing right now as well. It's different, but it opens up a lot of other doors. It really, really does, man. I have not missed it. I've actually had a sense of relief, if anything. It can be a little bit punishing where you start your Monday and you look ahead for the rest of the week and you think, how am I gonna do all this? And you start to try and plan some sleep. There's a two hour window here where I should be able to get some sleep, or maybe I'll be able to sleep in on the Sunday before this, and I don't know. I don't know if you can live under those kind of conditions, that kind of pressure for too long, and perform, and have a genuine smile on your face. It just gets a bit much. Definitely not ruling out gigs in the future. That would be really silly. And I think certainly like show stuff, I would definitely be open to some of that in the future. If any of you aren't aware, I sort of, well, you can look on my website, andrewrooney.drums.com. It's got all my show credits in there. Actually, I'll I'll link it in the chat. This is actually going to be interesting because I don't know if you can submit links in the live chat. Let's have a look. This could be, I don't know if I've talked about this much at all on the page or not, but oh, hold on. Why isn't that link working? I haven't looked at my website for a while. That link's not working. Why isn't it working? Oh, there we go. Here's a link that I'll drop in the chat to some of my theatre credits. If anyone's interested, can have a look. Since 2010, how many shows have I done? 1, 2, 3, 4. Footloose, West Side Story, Chess, Little Shop of Horrors, Fiddler on the Roof, Aida, Mamma Mia, did Mamma Mia twice. Fame, Hairspray, Sister Act, Mamma Mia again, there it is. How many shows is this? We Will Rock You, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 theatre productions as a pit orchestra drummer. And a lot of those were, it's crazy to think now, actually. I remember doing seasons of shows where, you might have 30, 40 nights of a show. And one of the big theatres here is called the Civic. Beautiful theatre. I'll be doing the show there and then finish up and run. Literally run over the road to the pub. It was literally over the road from this theatre. Run over the road to Father Ted's Irish Bar and play for another 3 hours in there. It's kind of mad. It is kind of mad. This is actually making me think. I actually don't talk about all this much, if at all, on the channel. I remember when I put together my website and I sort of tried to put together some lesson stuff on my website, to put it bluntly, to, I guess, promote myself, to, basically say, I'm a good teacher, and how to get more students and stuff. This was a few years back. And I remember my younger sister, she looked over the site and she said, this doesn't really capture how much you've done and like how much experience, I guess, how many gigs and different types of gigs you've done. Um, yeah, and I don't mean that to big up myself. It's just hard to convey. I mean, how do you explain to someone what it's like to have gigged that much? It's really tricky. You know, it's you kind of either done it or you haven't, and it's just one of those things. I guess I come on the channel more from a teacher perspective. I might be seen as a teacher and not a player. But I used to think of myself as a player who taught, and then that switched at some point where I felt like, you know what, my strength here is more probably teaching. Um, Church of the Holy Mo. I am game for listening to musical theatre orchestra stories. Oh yeah. I've done a series of best, worst, and funniest gig stories. Just trying to, and that was just to, just to try and share some of the funny ones. I mean, there's going to be a heap. Most of the really bad ones or the really funny ones are not shareable. I could not share them on YouTube. I'll probably get my account taken down. Not from anything awful or terrible. I did just the story itself. Sometimes it's just beyond belief. Try and think of a funny orchestra show one. Okay, here you go. This is a good one. So I was doing Hairspray at a place called Sky City Theatre, which is part of Sky City Casino, the big casino here in Auckland, and I was playing in the show. Hairspray. You're all probably familiar with the theatre production Hairspray. The whole show was click tracked, so I've got my headphones on, and there's a bit of backing tracks. There's an orchestra. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on. Now the the lighting. This is how I remember it, at least. The lighting setup was also synced and rigged through the click track. So it was completely automated. The show was actually really good and really slick. But this is when you're relying on technology working. So we got about 15 minutes into the show, and there have been people in the orchestra. The MD was sort of talking on the microphone to whoever, engineer or whatever at the front of the house. You can sort of see people, we're all playing and like, what's going on here? And we couldn't actually tell from where we were in the orchestra pit. But the lighting hadn't worked. So basically, they had done the first 15 minutes of the show. They had ended up just turning on the house lights above the stage and just having like a white light. And none of the lasers and smoke and, lighting to change with the scenery changes and all this. None of that was happening. So it came to this point where they had to make an executive decision. Do we stop the show? Because it became clear that we might have to reboot all of the computers that are running and syncing all this stuff. Or do you do a whole show with no lighting? And the lighting is kind of everything, you can create like jail cells with the lighting, and you can create cityscapes with the lasers and everything. Do you give up all of that? These people are paying a lot of money for this show, and they stopped it. Probably the right call, but oh man, it was just so weird playing this like 15 minutes of the show, and you're all, you're going and going and going, and then, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have to start the show again. And then you do that whole, and we couldn't start from where we'd finished. We had to go back to reset all the syncs and go right back to the start. And that was an old one. Benny Key. Hey Andy, have you done a video about the gear you use to do your drum playthroughs? Oh, I'm interested in putting my own and would love the knowledge from you. Yeah, I think that was last week's live lesson. Were you there, Benny? It was all about how to do better drum covers. Yeah, but I should do more of that. I should do more of it. yeah, basically I've gone down the route of mics and an interface. So I've only got a 4-channel interface, which means that I can only use 4 mics for my drum covers. And I use basically 2 overheads or 2 condensers, and then I just use a snare mic and a kick mic. A lot of the covers on my channel were actually 3 microphones. They'll never be more than 4. Some of them are even 2. And if I use 3 mics, I just have a condenser over the kit and a snare and a kick mic. And that's it. And that just goes through my DAW, my DAW, which is Reaper, a free one. And that's kind of it. We could do another live lesson, I think, at some point. Or if you guys are interested and you want to talk about that now, we can get deeper into it. I feel like I've hopefully explained pretty well what's going on with me, my life, keeping things transparent and letting you guys know what's going on. So yeah, we can take this chat wherever you guys want. And I'm actually going to shoot off after this and record a couple of reactions. I'm not going to say what they are, but they look good. They're ones that I've been hoping to get to, and someone's requested them, so it's going to give me the kick in the butt to actually do them. Yeah, some of them, I guess, music stories, gig stories, you really did have to be there, you know. Getting towed out of a field in the middle of the North Island of New Zealand after someone's great idea to get married in the middle of winter in the middle of a paddock. I mean, it's on and on and on. There's no end to the stories. And I think at this point, I've seen everything. Nothing shocks me, nothing surprises me in terms of gigs, in terms of people actually. You sort of see the best and the worst of people at gigs. And, you know, weddings, I've done a lot of weddings, and, you know, emotions are always high at weddings, and you see some things. Oh man, this coffee, I've let it go a bit cold. 3rd advert for Brute by Frothy Monkey. Christopher Shapir, unbelievable. But yeah, if there are no other questions, I guess we can wrap it up. Benny, it might not be the video to go too in depth into drum covers and my recommendations. I'm really honored that you enjoy my drum playthroughs enough to want advice. I'm pretty new to engineering. I still consider myself an amateur engineer, but I do my best, man. I do my best, and it's a lot of fun, and I really, really look forward to that day. I probably set aside one covers recording day per month to just capture some songs that I wanted to lay down. I just love it. Maite Elgeta Clavel, which was your favorite show? That is a tricky one, because it depends on which show I thought was the best or which one I personally enjoyed playing the most. That one I mentioned that we had the technical hookup, Hairspray, that was a very good show. So was Sister Act. I did Sister Act at the ASB Waterfront Theatre, just looking through my page here. I'd say one of those two. Michael Lunenberg, 100% support your decision. Rule number 1, family comes first. All other rules, rule number 1. Always love the content and always look forward for your notifications. Thank you so much, Michael. Church of the Holy Mo, would you use a mixer to mix to a stereo interface? I don't personally. So this is the signal flow, and this is the plumbing of how I record a cover or record anything. So I've got my mic, which like you'll see on the reactions, for example. Mic, say it's on my snare or my kick or overheads or whatever, and the lead is just going into my interface, which is a red box, which I've shown a few times. I don't know where it is at the moment. Should I grab it? I'll grab it. Hold fire. So, imagine if you had just joined in the last 5 seconds on a live video. It's just a seat and a table. So, this thing is absolutely incredible. I've got a link to this, my SWEETWATER affiliate link for this, in the description of each video. And I promote these. It's the only one I've used. But it was the one that was recommended to me, and oh my god, it is incredible. I've had it for years now, and it's just a tank. And you can see up there, kick, snare, overhead right, overhead, and it's got volume controls there. The mic just plugs into that. And then, this is the bit that blew me away, because I'm not a professional engineer. I'm sitting on it. This is the bit that blew me away. USB. This whole thing, all of those mics go into this red box, this Focusrite Scarlett interface. All the mics go into that, and what comes out of the box? That. And that's it. It's just literally that simple. It's ridiculous. If I can record, anybody can record. Put it that way. Let's have a look here. Oh, Drummer Boy 0626 M-Box. I've heard of that. I don't know much about it. Same, it's a soundboard override. Okay, I'm not sure. Michael Paris. I am interested in the idea of intentionally playing note for note versus learning the drums and then playing the drums without thinking or consciously counting per se. Topic for later. Very good topic. I think I've stumbled into this niche of, I don't even know if it's a niche. I guess I've turned it into a niche of representing and playing through some of the Drumeo note for note playthroughs. Partly to share, if anyone did want to take up the Drumeo trial, partly to share what's available. One of the things that doesn't really get talked about on Drumeo, these incredible play-along things. And for me, if I'm recording a cover, it's not particularly impressive to me if I can play along and play in time with the song. That's relatively easy. Without trying to sound big-headed, that's relatively easy. It's a whole other thing to analyze the song to the point of actually playing it like the original drummer. Now, I'm not saying that my approach is better or better than someone else's who's basically sort of jamming it, playing by feel. I'm not saying it's better. I just think it's a different niche. There's heaps. I actually haven't seen a lot of people doing it. There's heaps of drum covers out there of people sort of just playing an approximation feel of the song and getting it pretty close in some cases. And I just don't know. I don't know what that would prove for me. Well, not that I need to prove anything, but I don't know what. Well, and that would mean I can't roll the transcription over it because it's pointless to roll the transcription through and share what the original drum part is if I'm not playing what's in the transcription. Put it that way. Again, Michael Priest. I think Stuart Copeland says he plays by feel. Best example of what I'm talking about. Well, yeah, I mean, that's what I do at a gig, right? So if I'm out playing, or if I just sit down at the drums and just start playing, I don't need music for that. I could probably let's put it this way. I could put on 500 songs, or I could be playing for whoever band, such and such a band might call me for a gig on the weekend, right? And I don't know the band, and I don't know their set list. And they will send me the set list, or maybe they don't even send it half the time. Maybe the night before they'll say, "Oh, we're going to play these 50 songs." Doesn't really matter for me. I just go along and play them. I'm not going to take any sheets. Just play them. It's fine. Hopefully this is answering your question. But specifically on the covers I've been doing, those are clearly along with the transcription and trying to capture the original drummer's feel, the original drummer's part, without me just doing like a feel sort of simplification version of it. Or what you'll get with players like Elestepario Siberiano, they will play over an existing part and do what we call shred it, like chop out over an original drum part. That's another approach. That's not really me either. I guess I've sort of made my career, and I've been hired a lot for playing pretty accurate, just like playing the right feels and playing in time. I haven't actually given a lot of thought or attention to shredding out over original songs. I've helped students with that kind of stuff, some students who want to do like a shred cover, but it's kind of not what gets me up in the morning. I love going on a deep dive into, a Ringo part, or Charlie Watts part, or Bonham, of course. Bonham, Bill Ward. And actually really getting into the minutiae of, why is this so good? Can I actually get his degree of swing, and on the bass drums in this bit? Can I actually, what we call, bury the drum part? So if I do a Bill Ward cover or a John Bonham cover or whoever cover on my channel, hopefully you're hearing me bury the original part. And if you are, that means I'm pretty close to getting that original sound and feel. That's a really long answer. That was a great question. So hopefully that helps you out. Oh, another one. I heard some professionals like Travis Barker learn their songs so well they start to improve over their own parts as they lock in over a tour. Oh, of course, absolutely. So, yeah, now you would hope that, even from what I've seen of Sabbath or Led Zeppelin or any great player, they're not going to play like a transcription version of their song night after night. Rush is an exception. But generally, that's not desirable. Let's put it that way. You typically want to evolve a part. It's quite an unusual approach to, over a tour or the lifespan of a band, to literally just play the same part every night. It's a bit unusual, and most people would not want to do that. They would like to evolve the part typically. Drummer Boy 0626, will or have you ever covered Iron Maiden? Nico is a jazz player. Man, that is a good one. I actually had a couple of Iron Maiden albums when I was younger, and haven't listened to them for a while. One of them was Power Slave, and what was the other one? cannot remember the name of the other album. Yeah, that's a good one. I should check him out again. I mean, listening to him now would be a lot different to when I had those albums when I was 9 years old or however old I was. Church of the Holy Mo. I liked playing the same every time so I could think about something else while playing. Yeah. It all depends. It all depends. Look, if I'm doing a run of a production, if I'm doing a run of a theatre production, clearly I'm going to try and play as close to the charts as possible. Why? Because playing a theatre production is not about me. It is not about the drumming. It is about the cast, the performance, the overall show. If I go into a show and go, hey, big drummer guy here, I'm going to shred up and play polyrhythms through this bit, and I'm going to do a fill over the bar line here. They might be doing dialogue. They might be doing dancing. They're relying on someone who's like a clock. So they can just sink into their part and not even think about the drumming. If people are thinking about the drumming and the drumming's really like standing out, like, what the hell was that? That's not good for them. It's not good in most situations. I've talked on the channel a lot about the concept of the invisible drummer. The ultimate being my man Steve Jordan, Jeff Porcaro, Gad, Keltner, Hal Blaine. Now these guys, you've heard their #1 hit recordings over and over and over in your life without thinking about it. A lot of the time, probably never even noticed the drumming. You know, oh, that's a #1 hit. That's the biggest #1 hit of this decade. I've never even noticed the drumming. You never noticed the drumming. That's because the drum part is so good and so in the pocket and so musically appropriate, it doesn't jump out. It's not jarring. They're just nailing their job. It's a really underestimated part of drumming. It's a really underestimated approach. We live in the sort of the social media, Insta chops, Facebook chops world of drumming where you get a 5-second clip of a lick that someone might have been working on for 10 years, and then you get this 5-second burst of it, you know. And it's like, well, while it's technically maybe impressive and fast, and maybe even musically appropriate for what they're doing, you know, what is this? Like, what's the goal here? Are we aiming to play with people? Or is it just a technical display of virtuosity? Technical display of virtuosity, that's good. That could be the name of a book. But yeah, I mean, I've always personally been a big fan of the song drummers. You know, my guys are traditionally, before starting the reactions, you know, Tony Thompson, Jeff Porcaro, Hal Blaine, Jim Keltner, J.R. Robinson, Jim Gordon, all those guys. I mean, to me, those guys are the true magicians. They're the artists of what we do. And that's always who I sort of idolized, I guess, in drumming. None of my big drum heroes are really flashy or probably particularly chopsy. And that doesn't probably put me in a good place for the Insta Chops world, because I'm not the most exciting player, either visually or, you know, chops wise. This might not be that exciting, but hopefully it's appropriate and it's hireable. Those are two very different things. Man, that was a long rant. This coffee is like almost stone cold, Christopher Shapiro, but it's still good. I am going to have to sign off really soon. Thank you for sitting with me and listening to my story, possibly a little bit self-indulgent about what is for me a huge career and lifestyle change, massive change for me. And I just wanted to share it with you guys in the hopes of being completely transparent and just letting you know where I'm at. Mike Rusin, rock on, brother. Michael Paris, the coffee is working good. Church of the Holy Mo, good stories. Thanks for sharing. So yeah, I'll leave it there, guys. I'll sign off, and yeah, honestly, thanks again for the massive support. If you're wondering, you know, what the channel means or if your support is valued, it's meant that I've actually stopped gigging drums. For the first time in my life that I can remember, I'm not actually out playing on purpose, so I can actually have time to dedicate to this stuff, to dedicate to you guys, and to dedicate to my family. So yeah, thanks again for the amazing support. I look forward to seeing you on tomorrow's reaction video. It's going to be a good one. And yeah, take care, everybody. Ciao.